Hello, everybody. My name is Jacob Wilson, and this is going to be my presentation about the food security in Fairbanks, Alaska. Now, we got a few food security threats to Fairbanks. Some of them could be many of the food insecurities that are elsewhere, but there are some that are specifically just for Alaska. We can start off by talking about the three pillars of food security, and then we're going to move on to Alaskans are turning to the Food Bank of Alaska. Um, And finally, we will talk about Alaskan natives having turned to the Western diet, which has definitely increased in the problems for their community as a whole, the health problems. All right, so we got the three pillars of food security, um, starting with availability. The sufficient quantities of food available on a consistent basis must have the ability to be transported and available for trade or purchase. So that's just being able to even have the food there. Um, then you have the access, which is the ability to purchase food, mainly determined by household income and or the ability to attain foods from other sources as needed. That is being able to even just go to your local store, having the food being there is the availability, but being able to go into the store with your money is the access. And utilization, which is the ability to improve nutrient intake and or meet daily nutrient requirements from food. Um, you know, a lot of people eat fast food mainly, which doesn't really give them the nutrient intake that they need to make their daily nutrient requirements. Um, so that is a little bit of an issue right now. Then that all lines up to traditional food security. It is the integration of traditional foods within the context of food availability, access, and utilization. All right, so we have the Food Bank of Alaska. It's just like every other food bank everywhere else in the world. They get donations of food and they're trying to help out those that are in need. Um, and in Alaska, it's 1 in 7 Alaskans are turning to the Food Bank of Alaska for help. That is, your neighbors, one of them eventually, I'm sure, has turned to them for help, just even if it's just for a few meals so they can get back on their feet. Um, People are having to choose food over transportation. Uh, the income in Alaska is pretty low, as most of you might know, for many people. So people are having to choose food over just getting a car, so they're having to pay for food because it's so expensive instead of getting fuel for their car, so then they end up having to take the bus. Um, it is higher in low income population, yet it's not restricted to low income population. Just because people are a little bit higher income bracket doesn't mean that they're not having the same issues and are requiring to go to the Food Bank of Alaska in order to meet their daily needs. Um, And then we have 9% of adults and 14% of children in Fairbanks. The numbers are different all around Alaska. They're all pretty similar, but 9% of adults and 14% of children in Fairbanks have had to turn to the Food Bank of Alaska. The root cause is low income slash the cost of healthy foods. You go somewhere down in, say, California, you can go get vegetables and fruit and all that for a pretty low price compared to up here. So, it's a little bit more expensive to eat healthier up here. And then we have that the native Alaskans have changed their diet. Uh, this was pretty easy for me to find out because I had to, uh, during my critical analysis report, I got to look up some of this stuff. So, um, things that I found during that critical analysis were that the traditional methods such as hunting, fishing, and gathering are not as prevalent as they used to be. Um, due to the addition of there being grocery stores and supermarkets and all that being added up here, it's easier to, you know, go to the grocery store with some money that you've earned or that you've been subsidized to get your food. You no longer have to go on those long, grueling hunts in the middle of winter in order to get a caribou or get a moose in order to feed your village. Um, the wild food or just anything that's in the wild that can be hunted, fished, or gathered has been declining in harvest since 1980. That has been a huge issue but I mean, it is what I was just talking about. It's just people are finding it easier to go to grocery stores, go to fast food restaurants using money instead of going out and hunting or fishing or gathering what they need for nutrients. And due to this, they're getting more processed sugars and fats, so they are increasing in diabetes and cancer. Uh, I don't remember, but I think it was about like one or two in every five Alaska natives will have diabetes, which is a really, really high rate. It's one of the highest rates in all of the United States. And the root cause of this, of course, is the Western diet making its way up to Alaska. When something easier gets put in front of you, usually people will tend to want to go the easy route instead of doing the way that things have always been done. Um, so, that just is what happened. And that is all, folks. Thanks for listening.